Well, screams of those who were trapped under the debris and cries of their anguished families. They're all pushing rescue teams to work swiftly and non-stop at the collapse site in Chennai. It's been 96 hours since the building came crashing down. It's been a miraculous escape for some, for a young man who was pulled out from under the concrete and pillar structure. Rescue workers are not leaving an inch of space under the debris unchecked. Well, cameras are being lowered into nooks to spot survivors. The team rushed in to check when they hear cries of possible victims who could be under the debris. Teams of nurses and ambulance on standby so that not a minute is wasted. Doctors ready to administer essential fluids to survivors without any delay.
It's an endless wait for families of those who are trapped in the collapsed site of the under construction building that came down heavily after rains in Chennai on Saturday. They have taken shelter in the nearby corporation school in Chennai here. Of course, they are waiting to recognize their family members with photographs of their family members, just for that one positive reply that yes, their family members are alive. Several people have been admitted to the hospital in Chennai, but of course it will be an agonizing wait. They have been waiting for more than 4 days here.
Well, 35-year-old P. Jaya, who has reached Chennai from Andhra's Srikakulam, is hoping for a miracle for her brother and sister-in-law who are still trapped under the debris. There's been no word yet on their whereabouts.
శ్రీకాకుళం జిల్లా అండి, వామిడి మండలం. అన్నయ్య వదిన కష్టపడడానికి వచ్చామండి, కడుపు కోసం వచ్చామండి. అన్నయ్య ఇద్దరు ఎవరు బయటికి రాలేదండి. 3 రోజులు 4 రోజులు అండి వాళ్ళకి ఇక్కడనే ఉంటున్నాం. వాళ్ళ పిల్లలు చిన్న పిల్లలండి. ఏం చేస్తాం, అందరికి తీసరిగిన వాళ్ళని ఇంకా తీయలేదండి. ఎప్పుడు తీస్తారని ఎదురు చూస్తున్నామండి. తీయలేదు, చెప్పలేదు, ఏమీ లేదండి. ఏం చేస్తామండి. అన్నయ్య వదిన ఇద్దరు ఉండిపోయారండి. వాళ్ళ పిల్లలకి ఏ దిక్కు లేదండి, చిన్న పిల్లలండి వాళ్ళ పిల్లలు. ఏం చేస్తున్నాం.
While the death toll rises, several people are still trapped under the debris of the collapse in the construction site in Mugalivakkam, which is 20 kilometers away from Chennai. And the PWD officials have sealed the other building, which was also 11-story, which shared the common basement of the collapsed building, terming it as unsafe. The officials who have been working to bring the people who are trapped inside for the past 4 days say that it will at least take 2 to 3 days to clear the debris, and they're also hopeful of rescuing few more people alive as they're hearing voices of people who are trapped under the debris of the collapsed site.
And well, it's day 4 of the building collapse tragedy in Chennai's Porur suburb, and the death toll has risen further. It now stands at 29. 55 people have been rescued from under the debris so far. A 50-year-old woman survivor who was pulled out 60 hours after the collapse died at a hospital. Police have arrested 6 people, including the promoters and engineers of this building, and have charged them with alleged irregularities and for compromising on quality and safety of this building.
Preliminary investigations have revealed a number of factors that may have contributed to the collapse of this particular building. And the foundation that was dug up for the construction of these stills and the rafts slabs were not strong enough. This is what the experts said when they were digging out the rubble, and there were several people were trapped still inside. And the site of the apartment complex where that building collapsed is about 500 meters away from a lake, and the soil here is said to be very loose and clayey. See, this is the soil that's, where the building has been built upon, which according to the experts and the reports say that it is not fit for building a 11-storied residential complex.
Clearly, norms were flouted openly in the construction of the collapsed building. The initial probe report has identified 5 likely causes of collapse, and that includes clay soil, a weak and shallow foundation, weak columns, beams and stills, something that Shrisha was just mentioning.
I am at the other side of the 11-story twin building that collapsed on Saturday evening after rains lashed the city, and the visuals clearly shows that the blocks are not structurally aligned. the block below and the block above, this is not structurally aligned. There is of course a gap. They have made a temporary adjustment, and this is the way that the buildings have been built, and which has made the structure very weak. And this is one we could find, and there might be several others when we get into the details of the investigation reports once it arrives. And they've also used weak beams and weak stills according to the experts and the reports say.
And Srisha Reddy is joining us live from Chennai with the very latest on this unfolding tragedy. Srisha, the toll has certainly risen up, but at the same time, some people have been brought out alive as well. Just take us through the latest as these rescue operations continue for the 4th day running.
Well, Ruchira, to give you a clear picture, this is the place, the building that you can see in the visuals was the original size of the building. So that came down heavily after the rains, and it was a 11-storied building. And as it's an 11-story building, people are still carrying on the rescue operations. And it's been 4 days today. The rains lashed the city on Saturday, and today is the 4th day. Still, the rescue operations are still on. There are at least 10 to 15 people who are still trapped under the debris of this particular building, and family members of people who have been trapped are waiting outside with their photographs to recognize. There were bodies of people that went beyond recognition. They don't know who the people really are. The officials are saying that there might be a lot of children who might have been trapped inside this particular debris because they were watching television on Saturday evening when this incident took place, and they also came to collect their weekly wages. That is when they do. And as it was raining, people who were working on the other side of the building had come here to take shelter. So which is very unfortunate that the building had collapsed at the time, and a lot of them have been here. And according to the experts, as we were clearly mentioning in our report as well,
right,
the clay, the sand and the clay, it's very loose and it's not fit to build a 11-story building because it's a lake which is 500 meters away from this particular site.
Right.
And when we spoke to a lot of people here in this particular place, told us that there are not many high-rise buildings in this particular area because it can't withstand a high-rise building like this.
Right, Srisha, as we were talking about rescue operations, I want a quick word in from the agencies that are involved, as I believe this is a multi-agency operation that is now running into its 4th day. Are they hopeful of rescuing some more people from this rubble?
Well, exactly, Ruchika. Just few minutes before we started this report, also there was one person, 27-year-old Yugesh, was rescued from this particular site, and of course the NDRF from Arakonam had arrived on the day of this incident, and they have been working. They have been putting endless effort to rescue a lot of people, and they're also saying that from their past experiences, they have rescued people even after 4-5 days. So they're of course hopeful of rescuing a lot of them alive, and at least 15 of them are still trapped, according to the official figures. About 72 of them were here at the time of the incident. So of course they are very hopeful of rescuing few more people alive, but very unfortunate thing that one person was rescued in the morning. As soon as she was sent to the hospital, she suffocated and she died on the spot. So there are at least 27 people have been rescued so far, and 29 are declared dead.
All right, we leave it there for the moment. Thank you very much, Srisha, for joining us and getting us the very latest. We hope these rescuers who are working 24/7 to bring out people alive from this rubble do achieve what they've set out to do. Well, Chennai is yet to recover from this horrific tragedy. They are still reeling under the shock of this building collapse in which all those trapped beneath have not yet been rescued. In fact, people have not even been accounted for. But this building may be more of the rule than exception in the city of Chennai, as many experts in Chennai suggest there was a tinderbox waiting to explode, with construction rules flouted with impunity all across the city.
On Saturday evening, when the heavens opened to pound heavy rainfall on Chennai, it took less than a minute for this 11-storied under-construction building on the outskirts of the city to convert into 8,000 metric tons of rubble. The builders were quick to blame the elements, claiming that a cloudburst, which is capable of increasing the temperature from 30 degrees Celsius to 20,000 degrees Celsius, had brought down the structure. However, Tamil Nadu Chief Minister Jayalalitha was not buying the excuse.
It appears that the building plans that were approved were not strictly adhered to by the builders. There was nothing wrong with the plans that were submitted for approval, But the builders knowingly committed many violations and did not adhere to the plans that were approved.
But this may not be the only building in Chennai that could come down crumbling like a pack of cards, especially those whose foundations are not on firm ground, literally. In this particular case, Prime Shrishti had started the ambitious 12+1 storied building in a low-lying area like Mohalivakkam, which was once a lake area. The sand is loose, making the foundation weak. The nearby buildings were not high-rise like this one.
The place in which they are built is unfit for a multi-story building. That means 11-story building. Number two, it does not have enough road width to justify a 11-story building, which is quite high. Number three, they have manipulated the FSI norms, set forward norms in order to give a bigger building on 1 acre of land.
In 2006, a monitoring committee in which Deva Sahayam is a member was formed to check on the illegal constructions in the city. But the committee got no cooperation from the government. With Chennai, Kanchipuram and Chengalpet areas witnessing a construction boom, developers are only tempted to cut corners.
Attitude I find is people want to buy, can I get lower than this price? Can I get a lower price? Can I get a lower price? So there is an urgency for them to pull the prices down. It's natural. But what happens, even in government contracts, yes, you follow the lowest tender. But then there is a technical bid and then a price bid. So the quality is segregated. Only among the quality you must be able to price. So when the price is at a low point, people should now ask this question, how is it possible to give at that price?
There are 12,700 builders in Tamil Nadu. According to an estimate, there are violations in at least 14,000 buildings in Chennai. On a multi-storied building, PWD fire officials should regularly monitor. It is hardly done. Since most of the quarries are shut, it's the sand mafia which controls the sand production. Many builders use M-sand, which is of low quality and cannot bind the sand together for a long time. Similarly, to save money, builders use fly ash. Both fly ash and M-sand can be used, but in a proper quantity. In some areas like OMR on outskirts of Chennai, there is no sewage connection and electricity board connection.
What the building collapse on Saturday has exposed that many of these castles are perhaps being built in air. For all those who worked on the site as well as those who invested in it, it has been anything but a home sweet home. Priyambada in Chennai for Headlines Today.
A medium-intensity earthquake or a high-intensity storm could spell sure and certain doom for hundreds and hundreds of buildings in Delhi. But there's no stopping the mushrooming of weak structures of very low-quality material. Clearly, norms are meant to be flouted as far as construction in the city is concerned.
भाई है मेरा एडमिट है, उसके चोटें वगैरह लगी हुई है, ट्रीटमेंट हो रहे हैं उसके, दोनों है ना बच्चे उसके ख़त्म हो चुके हैं, भाभी भी.
एमसीडी पैसे रिश्वत लेके बिल्डिंग बनवाती 5 मंजिल, 3 मंजिल अलावा है हमारे इलाके के अंदर सुलझी नगर में.
A 4-storied building collapsed in Delhi's Indalok area. 10 people were killed. Another building under construction came down in Sadar Bazaar, killing 3. Part of another construction collapsed in Gandhinagar, killing another 3 people. In Munka, a house collapsed, killing 5, among them 2 children. A 3-story heritage building in Chandni Mahal came crashing down, killing 7. And there was another collapse at Lalita Park. The death toll there, 70. Year upon year, structures of concrete cave in, killing dozens. Bricks and mortar smothering the wails of women, children and the elderly. A criminal nexus has been allowed to flourish by a system blinded by electoral benefits and bundles of crisp notes. Meanwhile, more death traps continue to devour their inhabitants. Each time there's a ritual of investigations, a flurry of assurances, the predictable cry of protests, and the brushing off of accusations by those in power. The builder mafia thrives, and all three municipal corporations in Delhi continue to allow illegal construction unchecked. Repeated complaints are ignored and the guilty go unpunished. When the structures collapse, there's collective feigning of ignorance. Right from the police to the administration, killer callousness reigns supreme. If this is not the definition of connivance, what is? Much later, after the tears have dried and as more illegal buildings mushroom, cases continue to drag on in the courts, even as hundreds of more lives are put at risk. Bureau Report, headlines today.
Well, the demand for affordable living in maximum cities is inversely proportional to availability of land, giving birth to an unholy nexus between builders, politicians and local civic officials, which is all too well known. And blinded by the greed for profit, builders use inferior quality construction material and on top of it, build illegal floors. There are no quality checks, there is zero accountability and administrative authorities simply do not care.
Your home, your life may be at maximum risk in maximum city. The metro teems with illegal, perilous structures just waiting to come crashing down like a pack of cards. Tragedies upon tragedies have not woken up authorities. Scores of lives continue to be at risk as regulations are flouted at will.
I know, I understand. I can't get my family back. I can't get any of the family members back who have gone. And I want to make this case a mission. I don't want any other building to fall. I don't want any other father to walk up to the rubble and drag out the body of his son.
The builder mafia cops municipal authorities nexus has sprouted deep roots. They operate with brazen callousness. A few deaths don't mean a thing.
हम इलीगल बनाते हैं, इसमें कोई दो राय नहीं है और इसमें हम जो है प्रशासन का या म्युनिसिपल का कोई दोष भी नहीं डालेंगे क्योंकि वो तो मना करती है, तोड़ने आती है और उसके बाद
नहीं। दूसरा सवाल भी इलीगल बिल्डिंग बनाते हैं क्यों आप?
इलीगल बिल्डिंग हम इसलिए बना रहे हैं क्योंकि इलीगल बिल्डिंग अगर हम बना रहे हैं तो सिर्फ हम कसूरवार नहीं है, साथ साथ में जो है और कसूरवार की बात ही नहीं है, लोगों को सस्ते में घर मिल रहे हैं, 5 लाख 6 लाख में आज भी मुमरा कोसा के अंदर घर मिलता है।
I hold BMC responsible for negligence. Despite the fact that from 2008 onwards, we have been intimating them about the condition of this particular building, they have done nothing whatsoever.
The rot runs deep. Builders use low-grade material and bribe their way through at each step, exploiting the desperation of the poor and the dreams of owning a home. 12 hours after one of the worst collapse tragedies in Mumbai, Chief Minister Prithviraj Sawan had made all the right noises. We had asked then if he had the will to strike at the very foundation of the politician-builder-mafia nexus. More than 1 year later, we still await an answer. Bureau Report, headlines today.
Let's look at the buildings in Mumbai. Well, the BMC has put 593 buildings in Mumbai in category C1, which basically means they're living in these structures and living here would be very, very dangerous. Yet 424 out of these buildings, C1 buildings, are occupied either due to the lax administration or the residents who have dug in their heels refusing to budge from here. Another 812 buildings have been tagged under C2 category, which means basically that these buildings need to undergo major structural overhaul. There are over 550 of these buildings that await a go-ahead right now for major structural repairs. The BMC has put 106 buildings under C3 categories, which basically means these need minor repairs. But has that happened? Well, practically no. Mumbai City has over 32,000 buildings that are over 30 years old and are in need of immediate attention. The stretch between Colaba and Mahim has roughly around 16,000 dilapidated buildings. This is according to official records, which puts at risk the lives of all those who reside in these buildings. More structures, in fact, are mushrooming all over this area, be it from Mumbara, Kalyan, Dombivali, Bhivandi or Bhayandar, Vasai, Virar. These are the areas, in fact, from where several building collapses have been reported over the last few years. Most of these constructions are illegal illegal and are of inferior quality, but no action from authorities despite knowing that these structures are dangerous.